First NFL Total Access of 2019. We are presented by Mercedes-Benz Vans. We're number one.
That's right.
We're three wide. Lindsey Rhodes, Reggie Wayne, and Sean O'Hara with another countdown for you. Now that the ball has dropped in Times Square, let's move on to this countdown. The wild card weekend slate just 4 days away, guys. Reggie's old team kicking us off against Tyrann Mathieu's team. He'll be joining us shortly. Then it is the Seahawks Cowboys in prime time.
Good
that
games.
Is a rematch of a game that we saw in week 3. Remember, though, so much has changed since then. It's hard to say if that game is even relevant. Cowboys playing their best ball of the year, having won 7 of their last 8, with a quarterback who's coming off a big confidence boost of a game with the league's leading rusher on the sideline.
I definitely feel very good. Normally, after a real game week, I'm not really feeling ready to play till about Friday, Saturday, but I'm ready to go right now. I live for these moments. I love it. I can't wait to go out there and compete Saturday night, and I think this team is ready.
We both started slowly, and then somewhere in there we kind of found a little bit of our stride. These guys put together 7 out of 8, to finish off the season. We had a nice little run ourselves, so they're not that much different. We're not that much different, but really the way we have formatted our team play, I think both teams have done well to this point.
They really do have a lot of similarities, from the run games to the defenses to the quarterback styles. Though Prescott's got a long way to go to be in the same category as Wilson. Their NFL ranks since week 12 are actually pretty close. And Prescott's definitely got some momentum going, coming off a big game Sunday against the Giants that a lot of people referred to as being meaninless. But you think it was actually pretty important. Why?
Well, watching the game, everybody kept talking about meaningless game, right? And in the process, I'll tell you why it was a meaningless game, first of all. It's so Dak Prescott can get some rhythm. He can get going, right?
It was all about confidence.
All about confidence. And in the process, he found a hidden gem. And that hidden gem's name, Blake Jarwin. The tight end. For the win. The tight end came in the game. Nobody knew who he was. 7 catches, 119 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And right on time for the playoffs. He's that safety blanket for Dak Prescott. Those easy throws, all them yards in between the numbers, in between the hash marks. That is easy throws that Dak Prescott can do, and it'd be simple for him, right? He can figure it out. One thing about it, that's normally Cole Beasley catching those in
They've
between.
Been using him
as a
year.
tight end. But now you got Blake Jarwin right here. Seattle Seahawks don't know anything about him. He can be the X factor.
And Cole can go back to playing.
Being Cole Beasley in the slot.
I'm with you, Reg.
Will the Seahawks let him do that?
Well, no. They won't let him do that. The Seahawks are obviously a much better defense, but obviously Bobby Wagner's not going to let a tight end run right down the middle of the defense.
Okay.
We actually saw it in week 3. Bobby Wagner tipped the ball and led to one of the interceptions. Here's the play right here. I mean, there's your boy. There's Jarwin right there. He tried to one-hand it. Ends up being an interception. But to your point, Weezy, I kept saying, why is Dak in this game? Why is he still playing? Why did they put him at risk? It was because they wanted the rhythm. They wanted the timing. Yep. Those 3 touchdowns to the tight ends were big. How about the throw to Cole Beasley at the end of the game? The game winner.
Huge.
You never know when that momentum can springboard you into the postseason. So that, to me, is why they had Dak in the game. But aside from taking care of the football, here's what Dak needs to do. He's got to find a way to win on 3rd down. Too many times this season, I've seen him miss throws, easy throws, moving out of the pocket. I mean, look at some of these throws right here. There's an errant throw out of bounds. All right, this one right here is rolling to the left. I mean, you got Coop right there. Hit him right between the numbers. He overthrows it, sails the ball. Too many times have we seen the ball behind the receiver, has to adjust to make the catch. So we've got to see the Dak that we just saw against the Giants. It'll be a tougher task because this Seahawks defense, they get after the quarterback. You're going to be in 3rd and long because they're much stouter up front. That's going to be a great matchup, and I think they want to keep him in the pocket, obviously. You don't want to let him get outside and expose your defense.
Cowboys and Seahawks have played 3 times since 2015. Know how many touchdowns Dallas has scored in those games? They've scored 1 touchdown in those games. So to your point about momentum, maybe that's even more important against this Seahawks team.
Against Seattle in his career? In 2 games? 0.
There you go. I mean, I knew the only touchdown that they had in those 3 games was Dak to Tavon Austin, so I could do the math. Cowboys defensive lineman Tyrone Crawford back at practice today, which is big. Remember, he was hospitalized after that stinger. He has a big neck roll, but they expect that he should be good to go for this weekend. Another player working through some stuff physically, Nick Foles, who had to leave Sunday's game with bruised ribs. According to Doug Peterson, tests were clear. He's feeling fine, and he will start Sunday in the nightcap against the Bears. who might be the worst team for an injured quarterback to have to play, with Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks bearing down on him on every play. Chicago with 50 sacks on the season, 36 takeaways. That's the most in the league. They're the toughest team in the league to run on, toughest to score on, and third toughest to move the ball on. So what do the Eagles do here, Sean?
Well, Lindsay, those are some impressive numbers right there. If I'm the Birds, I certainly want to find a way to run the football, but it's all about that pocket. Obviously, if you're struggling to run the ball on first and second down, now third down becomes a little bit tougher, a little bit trickier. I think the guards are going to be crucial in this aspect. But there's one little X factor in this game, and it's the little mighty guy, little Darren Sproles. I think he could be the X factor in this game. You look back at some of these plays right here. How about this little sprint draw right here against Washington? You got him out in space. Kelsey, the center, with the 2-for-1 block right here. Now out of the backfield, he's almost kind of like Tariq Cohen. Kind of tough to defend, tough if you get a one-on-one with a linebacker. And I think he could be the reason why they, even if they struggle with the run game on first and second down, why third down, they could have a mismatch in their favor in the pass game, getting him down in space. Now, I think the other guy I'm looking forward to seeing is Alshon Jeffrey against his former team. A big, tall receiver. Nick Foles loves to throw the ball outside the numbers. And he and Jeffries, I mean, they've been flourishing. So this could be a big factor against the Bears defense. The whole key, though, Lindsay, you got to keep that pocket clean if you want your quarterback to be able to throw the ball down the field.
Another day, Sean, another development in the Antonio Brown story in Pittsburgh, one where he didn't play on Sunday, reportedly left the field at halftime, skipped their walkthrough on Saturday, and had some sort of disagreement with Ben Roethlisberger on Wednesday. Though guess who denied that last part today?
Well, that's the kind of baffling thing to me is people are making a big deal about a walkthrough on Wednesday, that there was a blow-up, a fight between he and I. I don't know anything about that. If there was a blow-up or something, I sure as heck didn't see it. This big deal was made about that, and I'm not really sure where that comes from. AB and I talked to AB on Thursday morning because after the walkthrough, AB left on Wednesday, and then on Thursday morning I talked to AB and everything was great and fine, and then this story just keeps growing. So I've reached out to him numerous times. I've called him, texted him. I know other guys on the team have too, and haven't heard back from him, but Thursday morning, he and I talked, and there was no issue. So I'm not really sure.
Well, one person who has heard back from Brown is Niners tight end George Kittle, who perhaps sees an opportunity here to do a little recruiting, and got a response from AB 25 minutes later. All of this, of course, totally helping to stabilize things in Pittsburgh. Ian Rappaport, what can you tell us about all of this?
Steelers coach Mike Tomlin will finally address the situation on Wednesday, hopefully much better than quarterback Ben Roethlisberger did right there. But yes, Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown did get into something during Wednesday's walkthrough that caused Brown to storm off the field and yell in anger, "I'm done," and asked him, "Why don't you just trade me?" From my understanding, there was no official trade request. Nothing was communicated to the Steelers that he really does, in fact, want to be gone. This was merely venting out of frustration and anger. Meanwhile, the league is going to inquire with the Steelers about what happened with Brown and his status on the injury report. This is standard. Compliance with the injury report is always something that is paramount. He was listed on the report as having a knee injury and coach's decision. Perhaps that would explain why he did not play on Sunday, maybe because of a disciplinary issue. Either way, Tomlin is going to address it on Wednesday, and hopefully we will have our answers then.
So many angles here to this story. It's hard to even know where to start. Reggie Wayne, what's your take on all of this?
Well, you know what? I sit back and look at this, and I immediately think about Coach Tomlin. This is on him. He sets the bar. He sets the standard. A lot of the stuff goes on because he allows it. Once you shut that down, then none of the stuff will go on, none of the drama, none of the stuff. And then normally when you're a coach, you sit up there, you look to your veterans to show the younger guys the way. But when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's all the veterans that's always in the news, in the headlines. So it just brings me back to 2004 with Coach Dungy. We played against Jacksonville Jaguars. I get into a confrontation, not my best moment in my career. I get into a confrontation with Peyton Manning, and physical. I actually shoved him. Right?
You shoved him on the sideline during a game.
Yep, on the sideline.
And
I had
somehow we don't have video of that.
Exactly. That's how smooth I am, right? I had 2 catches for 28 yards, right? Not having my best game. I shoved Peyton Manning on the sideline. It's a big commotion. All the media is around in my locker. I'm like, why y'all around me? I didn't do anything. The very next day, Coach Dungy brings me and Peyton in the locker room. He asked me what happened. He asked Peyton what happened. We both say what we had to say, and then we squashed it right there. Coach said, I don't want this to go any further than this. This is where it stay. You both said what you had to say. Now we move on from it. That's how it is. He set the standard. Once he did that, there was no more left.
So you feel like Tomlin probably hasn't done that since it has continued. It's always, one thing or another there in that locker room.
It's always something. He has to hold these guys accountable. Your veterans have to lead by example. The guys underneath them, they follow.
Do you feel like you relate at all to any of the frustrations that AB seems to be having?
I do. When you look at AB, you sit back and we know AB, we know he wants all the passes his way, but then you sit back and you see a Juju Smith-Schuster who's balling, gets the team MVP. He takes that personal. I know he does. And then you got James Washington, who's emerging. So that's pressure. I was the same way. They bring in Anthony Gonzalez, a first-round receiver. I'm like, what is this all about? So then you want to do more. You want to do more, but it's pressure. And he just got it all built up, and I think his cup ran it over.
He's really good, and maybe he's not getting enough credit there from his teammates or coaches or whatever he feels like he needs, and perhaps isn't handling it the best possible way. But
you got to do better than that.
Yeah, interesting times in Pittsburgh. They're not the only NFL team trying to navigate a better path forward, though. As you see here, there are 8 NFL teams pressing the reset button entirely. Bengals, Broncos, Browns, Bucks, Cardinals, Dolphins, Jets, and Packers all looking for new head coaches after a major day of firings yesterday. Browns tweeted today that they completed an interview for their job with Greg Williams, their interim coach. Tom Pelissero, who else is likely to find themselves in an interview scenario in these next few weeks?
Well, Lindsay, let's start with Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels, who has an interview set on Friday with the Green Bay Packers. Strong offensive background for him. They're looking for somebody new to come in there, work on a team that's led by Aaron Rodgers. We know what happened last year with McDaniels backing out on the Colts. He looks forward to telling his side of the story when he gets into the interview settings. Meanwhile, former Packers coach Mike McCarthy is going to interview with the New York Jets, according to our insider Ian Rappaport. What I am told is that McCarthy actually declined overtures already from the Arizona Cardinals, but he has been eyeing multiple other openings. He just wants to make sure it's the right opportunity. Former Dolphins coach Adam Gase has an interview tomorrow with the Arizona Cardinals. Something intriguing there. He has strong interest from multiple teams as well, but a chance to work with a young quarterback in Josh Rosen. And one other one worth mentioning really quickly here, Lindsay. Former Broncos coach Vance Joseph tentatively scheduled to interview for the Bengals head coaching job later this week.
8 openings. We're going to hear a lot of names mentioned in the next few weeks. Not this one, though. Lincoln Riley out of the mix. The Oklahoma coach agreeing today to a contract extension with the Sooners, so he will remain with them moving forward. Cliff Kingsbury signed with the USC Trojans just recently to be their OC. He was formerly at Texas Tech. And according to Ian Rappaport, he is interviewing with the Cardinals and the Jets for their head coaching position. So we'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, another job has opened up in Detroit. Offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter not coming back. The Lions electing not to renew his contract. Few injuries we're keeping our eye on this week as we head toward Wild Card Weekend. J.J.